Hi, friends. This is Help Me Be Me. This is Sarah May Bates, and I'm doing an episode I'm calling Midlife Reckoning or Mid-Career Reckoning, depending on the situation. And what do I mean by reckoning? That is, I would call it like a kind of forced or sudden check-in or questioning of your life that happens. I'm just calling it loosely midlife, but it doesn't mean that it's actually age-wise in your midlife. It could be just something you've arrived at because of a big milestone shift or something that you've just grown out of on a personal level. It's just this moment that you discover that the terms you believed were true for you are no longer rewarding to you. And maybe that means you've grown out of a career or a major life decision, and you take stock of what I am calling the quote system or the game that we kind of plugged ourselves into. And we start to ask if this is true for us, right for us, making us happy. And all of those things mean we are in transition. We're at the beginning of a change. You might have arrived at this by accident or by waking up one day and realizing, I am not happy. I'm unfulfilled. You also might arrive there because of a stress related health crisis, like maybe a heart attack or a seizure or something that has forced you to really take stock. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong. It just means that a change is happening in you. Like something is shifting, something is being forced into a shift. And it might not be like literally midlife. It could be you could be in your mid 30s, you could be in your late 50s. I mean midlife in that it's a spiritual evolution. Like we realize that things are no longer fitting for us. And sometimes that means we have been just unconscious for a really long time, and something has no longer blinded us or numbed us out like it used to. Like, if we shift our relationship to a system that we have been in previously, like a career, for example, it's because it's maybe not resonating with our goals. And because our goals have shifted, we've outgrown whatever thing we were plugging away at. It could also be a new milestone has arrived in your life. Maybe you've gone through a big change like a divorce or your kids have grown up, whatever the thing is. This is the reckoning that I'm describing. And if you've arrived there or you think you're arriving there, these are just some ways to reflect on that and how you want to approach the years to come. So in this episode, there are three parts: the what, the why, and the how, the tools. Part one, the what. Waking up one day, realizing that the path you were on is not as rewarding as you thought it was, and maybe you've been stuck here for many years and thinking if I just try harder, it'll lead to happiness. If I just double down, I'll finally make it. I'll finally arrive. Or if I just reach this rung, then I'm gonna be really proud of myself. And for some people, it's not even a job, it's a relationship that defines us. And maybe you've been like fully just dedicating your entire self to that relationship, whatever it is. And then the other person in the relationship no longer needs you in the same way. And for some people, we have an idea that we will somehow be fulfilled at the end of this path. And you might have been on this path thinking, I'm going to be so good at checking all these boxes. I'm going to be so good at being correct according to culture. And you learn all these rules and you learn how to act. And you think, if I just do all these things right, I'm going to be happy. And maybe that process has made you feel happy and fulfilled throughout it. But on the other end of it, you wake up without this system, whatever it is, and you realize on a spiritual level that you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want. And because you followed a specific path for all these years, thinking it was the right path, you feel lost. And so, in that the absence of whatever the system is, it can feel like I'm nothing. I don't have anything. There's nothing to hold on to. Like it can feel like you don't have a self, which is not true. It just means that you're at the beginning of starting to come home to yourself and starting to learn who that person is. The person hasn't gone. It just has, it's like a muscle that hasn't been used for a long time. In some cases, it might be that you were really invested in your career for such a long time, and then you notice that peers were kind of moving on into different life stages, settling down, building a family, and or you're witnessing other people be happier, and you're like, I don't have those things. And maybe you're just in a questioning stage where you were previously not paying attention and now you are. Part two, the why. I think as young people, especially if you're like, if you think of yourself as very career driven, or maybe you had parents that were really obsessed with you building a career or a certain life path, or the values of your culture had a very specific fixation on XYZ, meaning happiness. We might be seduced into this way of thinking by our upbringing, and we kind of therefore plug ourselves into what I'll call a system, a matrix, if you've seen those movies, those fantastic movies from the 90s or the 2000s, whatever. The system might be a workplace, it might be an industry or a level of status, like a title. It might even be a belief system, like a religion or a role, an identity, like being a stay-at-home mom, wife, stay-at-home husband. I don't know, whatever the thing is, you have subscribed to this system because it appealed from the outside based on a number of definitions or perceptions that you had. Like at a certain age, you thought, oh, happy, successful, quality people do this. And it seems like the best idea. Or everybody else is telling me I should do this, so I'm going to do it. And you might have also been attracted to it for very smart reasons. Like a lot of people, a lot of creative people are attracted to industries that have a lot of creative output, And so we think, I'm creative, I want to do that too. And so we choose based on a limited number of factors, and we aren't aware from the outside of how that industry or that system will treat us as a human on a day-to-day practice lifestyle level. And so you might have chosen a system based on elements of it or elements of the industry, and you might not have recognized how people feel within it. And net, it felt like a good idea at the time. And each system operates like its own land, its own mythical land. There are specific rules that govern it. There are specific ideals that everyone aspire to within it, and there are metrics that are within it that deem whether or not you're successful at it. And so when we enter in whatever system it is, we are indoctrinated into the terms. Once we're playing the game, it's like we learn all the terms, and it's really easy to lose any other measure of yourself when you're inside it because we can't even see that we are playing a game. We get this like blindness to it and it being separate from us. And we don't really recognize it until we have been kind of betrayed by it or we have ignored ourselves at the like cost or the mercy of it spiritually, energetically. It's like you live inside of a bubble and then you chase and you run, you're on the hamster wheel. It's hard to even see it as a separate entity or see its effects on us and the way we view the world. And especially if people around you are saying like, "Yeah, do it. You're doing so good. Give yourself to that thing. Do it more." And so you might just I don't know, not question it. It's really easy if you're checking boxes and you're busy and you're everybody's validating that being good. It's really easy to not tune in and ask like, is this working for me? Do I like this still? Is this meaningful to me still as an individual? And then years can go by, and one day you feel numb, or you feel empty, or you feel angry, resentful, exhausted, or your body might tell you, like, I'm fucking done. I need a break. And you'll be like, whoa, what happened? A decade just went by. I had this experience early on when I graduated from college. I really was seduced by the industry of advertising, and I really wanted to win awards as an art director. That was like in my mind what it meant to be winning at life. And I started to kind of just plug myself into that goal. And I worked really, really hard, really long hours. And then once I got to the winning awards success part of it, I just kept recognizing that it didn't mean a whole lot once I got it. And also, I kept waking up around Christmas time and saying, "It's Christmas time again? What happened to the year? It's Christmas time again? What happened to the year?" I'd be working during Christmas time and I'd recognize, like, what happened? Did I do anything this year? And that was kind of the beginning, that and also just like a sense of kind of numbness, a lack of awareness as to how I was feeling internally. I was like, huh, am I happy? I don't know. Do I feel fulfilled? Maybe. Do I like the people I'm around? I think so. So if any of that feels like you can relate to it, you might want to start this internal questioning, internal feeling into, am I in the right path still for me? Do I want to alter anything? Is this all still aligning with what is true for me as a person? This industry, by the way, I still work in advertising, but my relationship to it changed. And that was partly because my hierarchy was unconscious. I didn't realize how I felt about all of the things I was doing. I was just doing them because other people expected me to do them. And I think if you're in an industry, I mean, a lot of industries in general will reward giving yourself to it and working late hours and pulling all-nighters and putting yourself lower than the output of whatever company it is. And it's up to you to set the boundaries around how you relate to your role so you can be happy while you do it, so you can sustain it. That's on us to protect ourselves as we move through whatever industry we are in. But know that in terms of any system that you're within, it doesn't mean it's evil. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that we have to really be conscious and self-honoring in how we enter into those relationships, how we titrate and separate and boundary them. Because a lot of the terms of whatever industry will not originate from us. It'll be external. And so because we can get kind of sucked into them and talked into them or seduced by them, we can chase the fulfillment that they promise and then not really question if they are really valuable to us. Like you might end up being completely conscious and just going through the motions and then wake up and not know if you like it. And so there'll be like a strange sense of I guess lack of self-knowledge where you're like, did I even like this at all at any point in my life? So if that sounds at all familiar, next is part three, the how, the tools. But first, a brief word from our sponsors. Okay. Part three, the how, the tools. So here are some tools for turning inward to ask what it is you really want, and also heal from the blindness and the numbness, and also tools for just creating a kind of more boundaried relationship to whatever system you're inside currently. All right, the first tool is called juice reduction, or actually it would probably be jus reduction or Tim Ferriss 101. This is from an old Tim Ferriss book I read about a decade ago, but it stuck with me because it was really simple. And I think it's kind of a no duh, but I think just to frame it in this way and to really practice it will be very enlightening. So the tool is basically really become conscious about only dedicating the bare minimum to the tasks you are assigned and must complete. That's it. That's the tool. And the reason that it hit me so hard when I learned this tool and implemented this tool was because it made me recognize how much I was adding to my plate out of a perception that I needed to try harder. It's really stemming from low self-worth that you can't even see is in your person. And so what we often do is especially if you're in a marginalized population, we give way more of ourselves, we effort way more than is actually necessary to do a good job because we think I've got to keep up. I'm already at a deficit. I've got to keep up. We feel this like indebtedness that stems from our lack of confidence. So when you try this tool, what will happen is your output, the quality of your output will not change at all. The only thing that will shift is your energetic relationship to the work that you are doing. It really just, and it opens up so much more free time and space, mental space. It also helps you to like see what a healthy boundary around your own work is. All right, next tool, hierarchy respect. One thing that it's really easy to kind of get sucked into, seduced into, blinded by is our own relationship to our image, the way we are perceived by others. That will take us often will be our most prominent goal in our life over our relationship, our personal direct relationship to our life and what we are feeling, or our relationship to our family and how they experience us, or our loved ones and what they experience through us. So the net of this goal is keep the hierarchy really top of mind and be really, really conscious. Stay conscious, especially in moments when your perception, the way you feel you are perceived by the system that you're sucked into has stolen you. Or you are defined by, when you find yourself being defined more by whether or not I'm winning at the game, whether I'm playing the game right, and ask, like, is this really, am I really winning at this? Or am I just robbing another thing I care about in this negotiation, like my family, for example? All right. The next tool, thank you, protectors. There are no bad paths in our life, just like there are no bad parts of ourselves. And you might have heard of IFS. It's very popular right now. It's also related to family systems theory, which I love because I think it's really healthy to just recognize how our family systems kind of created the ways that we thrived and the coping mechanisms that we took on to survive and not die of anxiety. So IFS is internal family systems. So kind of similar to family systems theory, but it takes it internal so we can see who in us has been helping us survive. Like what parts of ourselves developed so we could survive and keep ourselves safe. So if you can look into your current system internally, we can see that there are old selves who had identities and created defensive roles and protected us, including in our whatever system role we are currently recognizing is no longer working for us. And so, one way that we can kind of separate from these selves is by, first of all, acknowledging that they were doing something really good and thanking them for what they have done for us. And for a lot of us, that means seeing I was driven by something that was healthy. I was motivated by something that was functional and positive. That self gave me stability, or it reaffirmed a sense of confidence, or I did that because I was trying to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, or I was trying to gain independence from XYZ. Whatever it is, I think just first of all, acknowledge that a part of yourself made a very smart decision in choosing whatever role you're reckoning with right now, and acknowledge to yourself that every decision you have made makes total sense. So, if you like to journal, I invite you to get a journal and just simply write out all of the quote protectors who have come to help you live and thrive. And if it feels right to you, you can even give them a name. So for me, one of my protectors was the Sarah who wanted badges. I really did feel like I wanted to build myself up and build an identity. That was part of what drove me. It wasn't a negative thing at the time, it was a really healthy impetus. So, as you list out these selves, you can see that they all came from a very valid place. And oftentimes we just don't need them anymore, or we have grown out of those needs and we're choosing something new. All right, the next tool, another journal exercise, a balance check in. I wanted to invite you to check in and ask yourself, just take note of how you are relating to your current life balance, work-life balance, whatever role life balance and or stress. Like by that I mean just look at the pattern of the last 6 months and see how you swing between your responsibilities and then being in a relaxation state. Like, what does that look like on a weekly basis? Is there a large and severe swing, or is it kind of a delicate and smooth swing? What insights can you glean from your different settings in life? For example, you might look at those two settings and see like, wow, this is really severe and like it's very, very it takes a lot for me to come back down out of this identity or out of this stress. Like notice any red zones and write down any insights you get. And after you have those insights, I invite you to ask, what is a tiny adjustment I can make to tweak the balance, increase the balance as I move through today, right now? Like just baby steps. What are tiny tweaks you can make in today to give yourself more balance? All right, the next tool, true joy or reward notes. Similar to the last thing I said, I want you to pay attention and just take note of what rewards you throughout your next few days. Just take note throughout the day. These will be really small human moments when your inner being is saying, yay. Or you're going to hear your own inner voice get excited like a little kid. Like your inner voice might be, or your outer voice might even say, like, hey, look at that. Oh my gosh, that's like such and such. Or I love blah, blah, blah. Alternately, you might be just in a state of sensory pleasure, like in a hot bath. Whatever you're taking note of, know that the Holy Grail is experiences when you hear your inner voice say, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate. My life is perfect. All of those types of things. These are just ways for us to become extra aware of what is at the top of our totem pole. And by that, I mean like your highest priorities in your life. And also learn just like what really does soothe our being and whether or not we have enough of those things in our week. Because it feels like in the moment, like trivial, like, meh, I'm fine. I don't need any hot bath. I'm just chill. It's fine, whatever. But in the moment, if you can add those things, what happens is like what I'll call this little separate autonomous being inside of us feels like, I'm important. I feel good. I feel rewarded. We feel special because of that. The next tool, who would I be if my phone didn't exist? This is a weird one, but I really want you to reflect on that conceptually. If you can, if it even is possible, but just like maybe look out a window and picture yourself if you didn't have a phone at all. Like, who would that person be? What would you be doing? What would be different in your daily routine? What would be different in your weekend routine? Like, think about that on an entire day basis. I'm asking you to imagine that because I recognize, especially lately, how my phone has made me its slave, and I see it's already infecting my kids. I can see it. It's like a disease. They're just like drawn to it. And I want to detach my brain from it as much as I possibly can and keep it in its own little separate box that is not a part of my personality because I've become so reliant on it and it sucks. And if you don't feel that way about it, then you can ignore this tool. But I think if we could really just imagine ourselves without phones ever existing, what we would find is we are way more present, in a state of joy, connected to people around us, relaxed, in a sensory state, and connected to nature. Life becomes a little bit slower. Our stress probably goes down. Those are all things that I feel. If you don't feel those things, totally ignore that tool. All right. Next tool is a mantra. Take it down a notch. If you are a person who has been running on all cylinders, the mantra I offer you is a just simple, a subtle adjustment. Just take it down on a notch. Take it down a notch. What would it look like for me to do less today? That's it. Just to have a tiny bit more balance, just a single notch down in the doing. And I invite you to just reflect on this throughout your next few months. Weigh all that you do. See if each thing is truly worth it. Like, I mean, you know, on a day-to-day little checkboxes level, but also every single thing in your life. Do you have to do it? Is it working for you? Do you want to do it? Do you possibly want to change that thing? See everything in your life in terms of it's a choice. I get to choose. I get to choose at all stages of my life if I still want to do this thing. Nothing is fixed. Everything is optional. It's up to us. We can change everything in our life simply in how we approach it. What we show up to do, if we change how we relate to all of those things, we mentally shift our relationship to those things, it can do wonders for our energy, also our feeling of self-reverence. Like by allowing ourselves to have a choice and asking ourselves and tuning in, like, do I want something different? We start to feel way more relaxed and way more honored because oftentimes we're doing things at the cost of ourselves. So sometimes we can have a completely different life experience, even with the same ingredients. Even if you choose to not change anything at all, just the simple act of tuning in and asking is healing in itself. All right, the next tool, tiny whisper wisdom. I have a tool, I've put a tool in the past and that's called tiny whisper listening. And that's just like the beginning of trying to tune into your inner voice and even hear it. It's so quiet and it's so tiny. It'll be like a little whisper, tiny little whisper. And so this is tiny whisper wisdom. We will have on occasion these tiny little echo voices inside that say something very big and important about our life. It's like this tiny little fleeting inner voice. And so the tool is basically, I just want you to hear it. You don't have to act on it if there's no action to take, but know that like the unconscious is autonomous. It's like we have two people inside of us. We have this brain that's like doing shit and making appointments, and we have this little warm space kid being that's inside of us that has oftentimes a different love, a different goal, a different desire. And so I just want you to hear these little tiny little whispers, whatever they are. Whatever it says doesn't mean it has to unravel your entire life. You're like not going to hear like, I don't like my job and quit it. It's not like that. It's just, I want you to hear it, acknowledge it, and then do something to address that voice. And it can be a very small change. It could be in like, now I'm going to boundary that thing separately. It's going to take on a different meaning for me in my life. Now going to know I'm only going to do this thing for money. It's not a part of who I am, for example. All right, next tool, a journal exercise, dismantling the system. If you are a person who has realized like I'm in a life stage and I don't like this thing anymore and it means something very big, I think this is the perfect time to kick up therapy. If you have never done therapy before, this is the perfect time to start it. If you've already done therapy in the past, it's a great reason to start it over again, just for a brief chapter. When we are in transition, it is just really helpful to have a bounce board because it helps us move faster through that change and then just hear what we are saying. Outside of that, know that this is the beginning of a road and the goal you set is 99% of it. So it's already in the organic process of change, it's already unfolding within us. But just set a goal. Whatever the goal is that you're heading toward, that's the point you're walking toward. So just be conscious in what that thing is. Could be something like, I want to get to know myself. I want to honor myself. Could be something that simple. Past that, here are some journal exercises. If you feel like you have followed a set of false idols or you feel empty or like your life is lacking, first journal prompt, I invite you to ask, who are my life role models? Like, meaning, who around you is happy and balanced and living life well? Second, ask, how can I create the space to grow a relationship with myself or connect more to my inner voice? Just space. You need some air, some room to play, to be bored, that kind of thing. All right, third, I want you to ask, what feels healing and self-honoring today, right now? And if nothing comes to mind, you can ask, what did I love to do or what did I appreciate when I was a young kid or before I had so many responsibilities that were not mine? And last, I want you to ask, how can I do an activity in honor of that sense of self right now or today? Like, what's one thing you can do? And throughout your week, little gestures in honor of that original self go a long way. Ritual matters immensely to the internal self. All right, the next tool, that's what the money's for. This is a meme from Mad Men when the copywriter character, she is like, you never say thank you, you never da 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 to Don Draper, and he's like, that's what the money's for. So, net net, if you have come kind of full circle on whatever system you're within and you're like, yeah, I hate it, but I'm doing this because I want to give my children or whoever the resources to go to college, or I'm doing it for this cause. Like, then know that that trade-off is valuable and it's worth it to you. If you can go through this entire exercise and realize like, no, I'm not happy, but I know why I'm doing it. It's for a really important reason. I'm just going to offer you that frame. I'm choosing this for them. That is my reward. And hold tight to that. Really visualize it. Keep this role in its own separate box and know that it's not who you are, but it is a gift you are giving, and celebrate being able to give this gift. Know that that too is completely valid. And I think that's something to appreciate about yourself, and just know that that's a good reason. If that's your reason, that's a good reason. So I hope these tools are helpful. And before I close, I just want to thank my latest sponsors, and I really appreciate you guys. If anyone has the means, you can donate to this show via Patreon, or you can head to yaywithme.com and click donate. If you don't have the means, totally understand. If you could share this with someone who could help, that helps me as well. So in closing, I just want you to recognize how often you say you feel lucky or you feel grateful, and ask, is it more or less frequent than it used to be? And just see if you're headed in the general right direction. If you are headed in the general right direction and you're feeling an increasing sense of gratitude and connection to your life, awesome. And if you're headed in the opposite direction, then just know that small changes take effect quickly. Like, life changes just tiny tweaks can create massive outcomes, even if they're small, like just in the way you approach a single day. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, I don't know where to go from here, start small, alter little things like time and attention, and know that your life and your inner being feels so much better simply because of being acknowledged and taken into account and honored in very simple gestures. Like, my old blog title was Teaspoon of Happy. And that's because each day I think of as its own recipe, and you can tweak little things and it alters the entire cake that is your life. It only takes really small conscious alterations to adjust the entirety of that output. And if you don't know where else to start, then I would just say be just kind and gentle and loving to yourself right now in this very moment, and know that that too has an effect on the output or the outcome that is you as a being, as an individual. Just be kind, loving, and gentle. And I hope this helps you. I send you my love, and don't forget to smile.